They were once inseparable, smiling in photos, exchanging praise, and calling each other brother. Khabib Nurmagomedov, the undefeated UFC legend, and Ramzan Kadyrov, the feared Chechen warlord and Putin's most loyal enforcer, had what seemed like an unbreakable bond. Kadyrov even gifted Khabib's father a brand new Mercedes, but behind the smiles, something dark was brewing. In just a few years, everything flipped, and what followed? A slow-burning feud packed with betrayal, political drama, and consequences neither man could have predicted. Ramzan Kadyrov isn't just the leader of Chechnya. He's one of the most powerful and dangerous men in Russia. With a personal fortune rumored to exceed $10 billion, he lives like a king. Private jets, palaces, luxury cars for his inner circle. Putin treats him like family, literally. Videos of Vladimir Putin proudly watching Kadyrov's young son shoot targets like a trained soldier are all over the internet. Kadyrov is more than a governor. He's Putin's personal enforcer. And when Russia invaded Ukraine, guess who sent over 43,000 Chechens to the front lines? That's right, Ramzan. But war and politics are just part of the Kadyrov package. The man is obsessed with MMA, not as a sport, but as a PR weapon. And at one point, Khabib was his crown jewel. Kadyrov's obsession with MMA. Kadyrov doesn't just watch MMA, he inserts himself into it. Fighters train in his gyms, appear in videos where they spar with him, and magically lose to the dictator in staged fights. Think of it like North Korea, but with better lighting and more Gucci tracksuits. When Khabib was at the height of his fame, he was often seen by Ramzan's side, smiling, shaking hands, sharing moments that felt like genuine friendship. Kadyrov would flood Instagram with emotional messages, praising Khabib's undefeated record, calling him a warrior, a role model, a national treasure. It looked like a bromance until you looked a little closer. Because while Kadyrov was gaining clout from Khabib's reputation, Khabib was gaining something else: independence. The rift begins when Khabib became too big to control. As Khabib's global stardom grew, something shifted. He no longer needed political patrons or shady protectors. He was a world icon, respected by Muslims, admired by athletes, and idolized across continents. That's when things began to go cold. Kadyrov thrives on loyalty and control, but Khabib, now more powerful than ever, stopped showing up, stopped reposting, stopped playing the game. And for an authoritarian leader like Ramzan, that wasn't just disrespect, it was betrayal. Khamzat enters the picture, and things get ugly. Then came the breaking point. In 2021, during one of his Instagram live streams, Kadyrov made a loaded statement. Khabib's a good athlete, but he's a UFC project, protected by Dana White. He never fought under a Russian or Dagestani flag. Everything was calculated. He's not real. Shots fired. Even worse, in the comments, none other than Khamzat chimed in, saying, "We'll tear him apart too, if he wants." By then, Chimaev had become Kadyrov's new favorite fighter. Young, explosive, and willing to play the political game. Kadyrov called him stronger and more talented than Khabib. The message was clear. Khabib was being replaced. And then, almost as if on cue, Khamzat exploded onto the UFC scene. Wild, ruthless, unfiltered. He was everything Kadyrov admired, and everything Khabib had grown too careful to be. Kadyrov saw an opportunity, not just for a new favorite fighter, but for a new puppet to promote his power.
I even saw the Chechen leader, Ramzan.
Ramzan, yeah.
He surprised you with a Mercedes Benz?
Yeah, actually, even 3 times.
3 Benzes?
Three
Yeah.
Benzes?
Yeah,
Did he talk to you when you were trying to retire too?
yeah, I did.
He just bought you another Benz and said, if I'll buy you a Benz, you can retire?
Yeah, when I see the best become healthy, man.
He didn't waste a second. Khamzat was flown to Grozny like royalty. Waiting for him, a fleet of luxury cars, gold-plated AKs, private training facilities, designer clothes, and the kind of red carpet treatment only dictators can offer. The message was loud and clear. You are one of us now. You're my lion. And it didn't stop there. He gifted Chimaev with a custom-made armored SUV, bulletproof and lined with exotic leather. Rumors swirled of a Chechen villa, personal security guards, and direct access to Ramzan's inner circle. One source even claimed that Chimaev was given partial control over youth sports funding in Chechnya, essentially making him a political figure, not just a fighter. All while Kadyrov was slowly scrubbing Khabib from the narrative. No more birthday messages, no more proud declarations. Instead, Ramzan began saying Chimaev was stronger, more dangerous, and more loyal than Khabib ever was. At public events, Chimaev stood beside Kadyrov like a son next to his father. Kadyrov used him for PR, for intimidation, for symbolism. He paraded him before cameras not as a guest, but as the chosen one. And Chimaev played along perfectly. He smiled in photos. He praised Kadyrov. He never once distanced himself from the politics. And unlike Khabib, he followed orders. While Khabib was promoting peace and preaching patience from the UAE, Chimaev was sparring in Grozny under Kadyrov's watchful eye, telling the world he would smash everyone, and reminding everyone whose side he was on. It was no longer about who was the better fighter. It was about who was more useful. Khabib represented pride, faith, and independence. Chimaev represented power, aggression, and obedience. And in Kadyrov's world, only the obedient survive. The gifts, the fame, the influence. It wasn't generosity. It was an investment. An investment in a fighter who wouldn't bite the hand that fed him. In 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Across Dagestan, men were being drafted and shipped off to die. Protests erupted. Chaos spread. That's when the Russian government came knocking on Khabib's door. They needed a voice, a hero, a calming presence to convince Dagestanis to stop resisting. But Khabib said nothing. No posts, no speeches, just silence. He disappeared from Russia and quietly settled in the UAE, far away from the Kremlin's grasp. Kadyrov, on the other hand, doubled down. He made aggressive threats against protesters. He declared unconditional support for Putin's war. And slowly, the gap between the two men became unbridgeable. The riot, the terror attack, and the final blow. In late 2023, an anti-Israel riot broke out at Makachkala Airport. Over 1,000 protesters stormed the runway. Kadyrov ordered brutal crackdowns. If they don't stop, shoot them in the forehead. Khabib responded by reposting a plea for mercy, asking authorities to show compassion and avoid ruining young lives. This wasn't just a disagreement, it was open defiance. Then came June 2024. Armed militants attacked churches, synagogues, and police stations in Dagestan. 22 people were killed. The Russian government launched a counter-terrorism campaign and just days later raided Khabib's gym. Why? Because one of the attackers had once trained there. Khabib denied any real connection. The man had simply passed through. But it didn't matter. State media pounced. Politicians accused Khabib of harboring extremists. A military blogger called him unmanly. A political analyst suggested his gym was breeding terrorists. Under pressure, Khabib shut down his gym. Then came the financial attack, a sudden, unexplained 302 million ruble tax bill. Coincidence? Unlikely. Kadyrov didn't lift a finger. He let Khabib burn. Despite having the power to silence the media, stop the police, or erase the debt, Kadyrov did nothing. No protection, no defense, no loyalty. The same man who once gave Khabib's father a luxury car now stood by as his brother was crushed. Khabib tried reaching out to American officials, further angering Russian elites. Kadyrov has long blamed the US for all of the world's problems, and now Khabib was openly engaging with them. Conclusion: Khabib broke free, but at what cost? This is the story of a fighter who refused to bow. Khabib could have played the game, posted the flags, supported the war, praised the politicians, but he didn't. He walked away, and in doing so, he lost powerful friends, his gym, and his security in Russia. But he gained something else: independence. Ramzan Kadyrov stayed loyal to Putin. Khabib stayed loyal to his conscience. They were once brothers. Now they're on opposite sides of history. And trust us, this story isn't over.